Milwaukee are going to be joining with people in at least 22 different cities across the United States, 7 cities in Canada, and the determined and persistent, persevering people of Havana, Cuba, in having a caravan to demand an end to the cruel, vicious U.S. blockade of Cuba.
Right.
These caravans were begun about, I think, 9 months ago by Cuban American families in Miami, Florida. There are many people who have relatives, family, friends in Cuba who are sick and tired of the U.S. telling them that they can't have normal relations, normal connections with their families in Cuba. They would like to be able to visit their relatives in Cuba whenever they want to, not wait for the U.S. government to say, okay, your 3-year waiting period is up, you can go now. They'd like to have their relatives be able to visit here. They'd like to be able to send gifts, remittances. They'd like to be able to have trade with Cuba, and also to have other Americans go to Cuba and enjoy hospitality of the Cuban people. So it is the Cuban American families who started this as a way of demanding that we lift the blockade. So they've been having caravans on the last Sunday of every month, and until the blockade is lifted, and we intend to do the same here.
I was born in Cuba, and I left Cuba as a kid on the year that the blockade was established. So I didn't go back from 1961 until the year 2000. I've been back, I don't know, probably here 20 times now. You know, things are really bad in Cuba. Right? People are hungry, they don't have any medicines, and it got better for a brief time when President Obama sort of made some inroads, needless to say, in the administration after Obama. Things got really bad, and I think you got to be on the phone. You got to talk to your Congress people. You got to talk to your senators, and we've got to do this. You got to tell people that we can't travel to Cuba, not because of the Cubans, right? You can't go to Cuba because of your government, and that's not right. So thanks for coming out again, and keep on coming out.
We need to really lift this blockage from Cuba. We need to get families together. We need to have people joining one another. It took me over 20 years to see my family. I don't want to see that to other people happening. So please, join the blockage. We're going to be here every month. We will stand strong here every month. At the, I guess, last weekend of the month, doing the caravan. So join us y que viva la causa, hermanos.
So to start, I want to bring up the point that since Biden has been in office, there has been a $13 billion annual increase in the Pentagon's budget. This is up from what Trump's administration was doing. So that's $1 million per minute per year that's being spent on the military budget. Cuba has about 3% of the population that the United States has, and it spends 1% of what the military spends, what the U.S. military spends on their own military. And their land mass and population is approximately the size of Ohio. So what is the United States afraid of? Why are they putting Cuba, why do they have a blockade on Cuba for 60 years? It's probably because Cuba has guaranteed health care, education, jobs, and homes, because they are a socialist society. It is this socialist society, is this democracy by and for the people, that truly scares the United States. Because if we could freely see how they organize, how they participate in democracy, we would all know. Everybody would realize enough is enough. Regardless of who is the president, who holds Congress, it's people taking it to the streets, making our demands clear, that's actually going to cause any change in this country. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for showing up, and a special greetings to our new pal Jorge, and his son. What's your son's name, Jorge? JD. So Jorge saw the Cuban flag. His father's from Cuba, and he has lots of relatives. And he said, "What's going on with the U.S. and Cuba?" So thank you so much for being here. Bruno Rodríguez Perrilla, who's the foreign minister of Cuba, explaining what's going on with the blockade right now. On June the 23rd, the United Nations General Assembly will again consider Cuba's draft resolution calling for an ending to the economic blockade of Cuba. The policy of bringing the Cuban people to their knees through hunger, hardship, and desperation has already lasted more than 6 decades and is a massive violation of human rights. President Donald Trump escalated the economic warfare to extreme levels and introduced 243 new coercive measures that have remained unchanged under President Joe Biden. The blockade is a cruel policy that causes hardship, deprivation, and scarcities to Cuban families. It has been deliberately tightened during the COVID-19 pandemic. It impairs Cuba's access to necessary medicines, supplies, and equipment. It is an act of genocide. It hinders family ties and restricts even more the freedom to travel of U.S. citizens. Its extraterritorial implementation drastically curtails our revenues and hampers our development. A superpower is harassing a small island and is forcing it to struggle against a terrible pandemic and against an embargo that is causing human and economic damage. Like the virus that originated this pandemic, the U.S. embargo is suffocating and hurting Cuban families. Thank you.
Jake! Great job, Bert.
There are 2 Wisconsin women who are currently studying medicine at the Latin America School of Medicine in Havana, which is the largest medical school in the entire world. We call it ELAM.
Olive Albanese, who you will hear her voice in a minute, and Alex Skeeter wrote a letter to the school board of Milwaukee before the school board unanimously adopted a resolution calling for an end to the U.S. sanctions economic blockade. Both raised by single moms, one on the north side of Milwaukee, one on the south side of Milwaukee. Never would have dreamed of becoming doctors. But because of Cuba's initiative, they're both scheduled to graduate as medical doctors this year.
Gracias por invitarme a este evento especial por mostrar nuestro apoyo a Cuba y para el fin del bloqueo destructivo, inhumano y criminal. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this special event to show our support for Cuba and for ending this destructive, inhumane, and criminal blockade. We've seen firsthand so many ways that this blockade is hurting and killing the Cuban people. The shortage of essential medicines to control high blood pressure causes complications such as stroke and heart attacks. Gracias a todos y todas por su colaboración. Gracias por luchar con nosotros por nuestros sueños de justicia para Cuba y para el mundo. Thank you, everyone, for your collaboration. Thank you for struggling with us, for our dreams of justice for Cuba and for the world. Un mundo mejor es posible. Venceremos.
Here.